stop what you are doing right now, because if you are over 60 and you start your morning with tea, you need to hear what I am about to tell you. Before you take another sip, I know that sounds dramatic, but I want to be completely honest with you from the very first sentence. Because the tea you drink in the first hour of your day can either make life easier for your kidneys or quietly add more stress to organs that are already working harder with age. And that matters far more than most people realize. Because after 60, your kidneys are not as forgiving as they were at 30 or even 45. They are filtering blood every minute, balancing fluid, helping regulate minerals, and carrying the burden of everything you eat, everything you drink, and every medication or supplement you put into your body. So when you choose the wrong morning tea day after day, you are not making a harmless little habit decision. You may be creating a daily biochemical burden your kidneys have to pay for again and again. But here is the good news. There are also a few teas that may support your body in a much gentler way. Teas that can fit into a smart morning routine, help reduce unnecessary stress on the system, and support the kind of healthy daily hydration and antioxidant exposure that older adults often need more of, not less. So today I am going to give you both lists. First, the 3 teas seniors should be extremely careful with after 60, especially if kidney function, blood pressure, swelling, stones, or medication interactions are already part of the picture. And then I am going to give you the top 3 morning teas that stand out as the best options if your goal is to support your kidneys and help your body flush waste more naturally. Stay with me until the very end, because the number 1 tea on this list is not the one most people expect. Most people assume the best tea for kidney support must be some exotic detox blend in a fancy package. It is not. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes seniors make is trusting products marketed with words like cleanse, flush, and detox without understanding what those ingredients are actually doing inside the body. And before we go any further, I want to ask you something directly. How old are you, and what is the very first thing you drink in the morning? Tea, coffee, plain water, or something else? Drop it in the comments, because I always like to know what real people are actually doing before I tell them what to change. Now let us begin with the bigger principle, because once you understand this, the rest of the list will make perfect sense. Your kidneys do not simply need more liquid. They need less irritation, less pressure, fewer harmful swings in blood pressure and electrolytes, and fewer ingredients that create unnecessary work. That is the key idea. A tea is not magically cleansing your kidneys because the label says detox. The real question is whether that tea helps reduce stress on the body or whether it adds to it. That is the lens we are going to use for every tea on this list. And I want to slow down here for one moment, because this is where so many people get misled. They hear the phrase flush out toxins, and they picture the kidneys as if they were dirty pipes that need to be blasted clean with the most aggressive drink possible. But kidneys do not work that way. They are living filters. They depend on blood flow, fluid balance, pressure control, and a steady internal environment. When that environment becomes too harsh, too dehydrated, too inflamed, or too chemically chaotic, the kidneys do not get cleaner. They get stressed. So whenever you hear words like flush, cleanse, purge, melt, sweep, or reset, ask yourself a better question. Is this tea actually supporting the body's natural filtration process, or is it simply forcing a dramatic reaction that looks impressive for a day and creates more burden later? That one question can save a lot of people from making very expensive mistakes. Because after 60, your margin for error is smaller. Recovery is slower. Medication interactions matter more. Blood pressure swings matter more. Electrolyte shifts matter more. And the habits that felt harmless in your 40s can become much more consequential in your 60s and 70s. That is why the morning matters. You are setting the tone for the entire day with the very first thing you put into your system. Let us start with the 3 teas to avoid. Tea to avoid number 3 is strong black tea in large amounts every single morning. Now, I want to be very careful and very fair here. I am not saying a single ordinary cup of black tea is automatically dangerous for every adult over 60. That would be irresponsible. But I am saying that large, strong, Repeated servings can be a very different story, especially for people with a history of kidney stones, concerns about oxalates, or kidneys that are already under strain. One search result from Science Direct specifically notes that black tea is a significant source of soluble oxalate, and that it could increase risk of calcium oxalate, stone formation because of increased urinary oxalate excretion. At the same time, a study in normal subjects reported no clearly increased kidney stone risk from black tea intake. That is exactly why context matters. For a healthy person, the effect may be small. But if you are an older adult already dealing with kidney issues, stones, or a physician telling you to watch certain compounds, more tea is not always more health. Think of it this way. If your kidneys are already doing extra work, loading them with multiple oversized mugs of very strong black tea every morning may not be the smartest place to start your day. Practical step. If black tea is part of your morning ritual, keep it moderate instead of heavy, and do not let it be your automatic default if you already know stones or kidney concerns are part of your health picture. And there is another reason I am putting this tea on the caution list instead of pretending it is universally harmless. Habit hides dose. People do not say, "I drink 4 or 5 strong mugs of black tea before noon." They say, "I just drink tea." But inside that casual phrase can be a very large daily load. Stronger brew, bigger mug, second refill, third refill, same habit, very different physiological effect. That is why seniors need to think in terms of patterns, not labels. Tea to avoid number 2 is licorice root tea. This one surprises a lot of people because licorice root is often sold as soothing, natural, comforting, and herbal. But natural does not always mean gentle. A search result from PMC describes hypertension induced by licorice tea and notes that excessive consumption of licorice products has long been recognized as a cause of high blood pressure. Another medical source notes that even small amounts of licorice may raise blood pressure and may cause side effects, especially in people with heart or kidney problems. That matters because high blood pressure and kidney stress are deeply connected. The kidneys help regulate blood pressure, and high blood pressure can damage the kidneys over time. So if you are over 60 and already watching your numbers, adding a tea that may push them in the wrong direction is the opposite of what you want. Practical step. If you are drinking licorice root tea for digestion, comfort, or relaxation, check the box carefully. If licorice root is one of the star ingredients and you have blood pressure concerns, swelling, or kidney issues, this is one to discuss with Dr. Henry Blake before it becomes a daily habit. And now the number 1 tea to avoid, the one that is marketed as if it were helping you the most. Commercial detox teas, especially the ones built around stimulant laxative ingredients like senna. This is where marketing and physiology part ways in a very dangerous manner. The National Kidney Foundation specifically warns people to avoid teas and supplements marketed as a kidney detox or kidney cleanse because there is limited evidence they work, and some ingredients can interact with medications or even damage the kidneys. That warning alone should make every senior pause before trusting a shiny packet that promises a miracle flush. And when you look at senna itself, the concern becomes even clearer. WebMD notes that senna is a stimulant laxative approved for short-term constipation use, not for daily cleansing. It says senna should not be used for more than 1 week without supervision, can cause diarrhea, and long-term use may cause harmful effects. It also notes that senna can lower potassium, and that combining it with water pills can make potassium levels drop too low. Now think about that in practical terms. If a tea is pushing fluid loss through diarrhea, if it is disrupting potassium balance, and if a senior is already taking medications for blood pressure, fluid retention, or other chronic conditions, that is not a casual wellness beverage. That is a product that can complicate an already delicate balance. So the practical step here is simple. If the label says detox, cleanse, flat tummy, or overnight flush, do not get hypnotized by the language. Turn the box around. Read the ingredients. If you see senna or a proprietary blend that hides what is really inside, that is your sign to slow down and treat it with real caution. And please notice how often these products rely on before and after emotion instead of real explanation. They promise you will feel lighter, cleaner, or emptied out, But feeling emptied out is not the same thing as being healthier. A bathroom response is not the same thing as kidney support. For older adults, confusing those two ideas can be a real problem. Now, before I give you the top 3 morning teas that can make far more sense for kidney support, take a second and breathe, because this is the part most people actually need. Not fear, not hype, not another miracle promise. A better morning routine. And if this is already giving you a clearer way to think about your daily tea habit, subscribe and stay with me, because this is exactly the kind of practical, evidence-aware health information that older adults almost never get explained in a simple way. Now let us get to the top 3 morning teas that may support kidney health more naturally. Tea number 3 is ginger tea. Ginger is not flashy. It is not trendy. It is not wrapped in detox marketing. And that is part of why I like it. It has a long reputation for being useful, simple, and practical. A review on ginger and inflammatory disease reports that there is enough evidence to show ginger has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory capacities. Another review focused on the kidneys suggests ginger phenolics could help slow chronic kidney disease progression by targeting multiple aspects of kidney injury. Why does that matter for a senior morning routine? Because kidneys do not only struggle from dehydration or stones. They also struggle when the whole body lives in a state of chronic low-grade stress and inflammation. Anything that supports a calmer internal environment may fit more intelligently into a morning habit than a harsh, so-called cleanse tea. Ginger tea also has another advantage. It feels warming, satisfying, and easy to make, which means people actually stick with it. And the best health routine is not the most exotic routine. It is the one you will still be following 3 months from now. That matters more than people think. Consistency is where the benefit lives. Not in the first cup, not in the first week, but in the repeated habit that replaces something harsher with something steadier. A lot of seniors do not need a dramatic health revolution. They need a morning routine that stops working against them. Practical preparation. Slice fresh ginger, steep it in hot water for several minutes, and drink it plain or with a small squeeze of lemon if that works for you. No sugar overload. No gimmicks. No miracle language. Tea number 2 is hibiscus tea. This is one of the most interesting options because it checks more than one box at once. A meta-analysis found that hibiscus significantly lowered systolic blood pressure by about 7.92% from baseline and showed a trend toward lower diastolic pressure as well. Another source from Harvard says a study showed hibiscus tea may help lower blood pressure. That matters because blood pressure control matters enormously for kidney protection over time. There is more. A study comparing hibiscus and green tea reported that both groups had nephroprotective effects and reduced the elevation in non-enzymatic kidney markers. In other words, hibiscus is not just a pretty red tea. It is one of the few herbal options that keeps showing up in conversations about blood pressure, oxidative stress, and kidney support all at once. And this is exactly why hibiscus earns such a high place on the list. It does not need fake detox language to sound impressive. Its appeal is that it makes physiological sense. If a tea may support healthier blood pressure and antioxidant balance, that is already a better starting point for aging kidneys than a laxative-based cleanse drink. It also gives people a useful mental reset. Instead of asking, "What can I take that feels powerful?" you start asking, "What can I take that lowers unnecessary pressure?" That is a much more intelligent question for kidney health, and hibiscus fits that logic beautifully. Practical preparation. Brew it unsweetened. Keep it simple. Let it be a morning tea, not a dessert in a mug loaded with sweetener. And now we come to number 1. The best morning tea on this list, if your goal is to support your kidneys and help your body manage stress more intelligently, is green tea. But with one important condition: moderation. Not 6 cups. Not concentrated extracts. Not the "if a little is good, a lot must be better" mindset that gets people into trouble. Green tea earns the number 1 position because the evidence base around its main polyphenol, EGCG, is strong enough to make it stand out from the crowd. A review on EGCG and kidney disease says multiple studies show EGCG has a potential role in chronic kidney disease models, and that it modulates important cellular and molecular mechanisms. A Kidney International article summary reports that EGCG treatment ameliorated renal inflammation, tissue damage, and loss of renal function. And the study comparing hibiscus and green tea found nephroprotective effects in the green tea group as well. That is a very different profile from a product that simply forces the bowels to move and then calls that cleansing. Green tea is not flushing toxins because it bullies your body. It is valuable because of the compounds it contains and the way those compounds appear to support a healthier internal environment. That is the distinction I want you to remember. Real support is not violence. Real support is not dehydration. Real support is not a dramatic overnight purge. Real support is reducing avoidable stress and giving the body better inputs day after day after day. That is why green tea is number one. And I want to underline one more thing here, because this is where smart viewers separate themselves from impulsive viewers. The goal is not to chase an ingredient. The goal is to build a repeatable morning pattern around one of the better supported options, and then stop sabotaging that benefit with the wrong habits everywhere else. One good tea cannot cancel out dehydration, excess sodium, uncontrolled blood pressure, mystery supplements, and daily detox products. But one good tea can become part of a smarter overall direction. That is how real progress usually happens. Not through one magical intervention, but through a stack of better choices that all point the body in the same direction. Practical preparation. Brew it lightly. Drink one modest cup in the morning, especially if you are sensitive to caffeine. Let it be a supportive ritual, not an all-day stimulant habit. Now let me bring the entire list together into one clear, simple action plan you can actually use. If you are over 60, the first question is not, what is the most hyped tea on the internet? The first question is, which morning tea creates the least unnecessary stress for my body? The 3 teas to be cautious with are these. Number 3, large amounts of strong black tea, especially if you already have concerns about stones, oxalates, or kidney strain. Number 2, licorice root tea, especially if blood pressure is already part of your health story. Number 1, commercial detox teas, especially those built around senna or mystery proprietary blends marketed as a kidney cleanse. And the top 3 morning teas to consider instead are these. Number 3, ginger tea for its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant profile. Number 2, hibiscus tea for its blood pressure support and nephroprotective signals in the literature. And number 1, green tea in moderation for the kidney supportive potential of EGCG and its stronger evidence base. Here is what I really want you to hear before we end. If you are over 60, your kidneys do not need panic. They need consistency. They need better daily choices. They need less strain from trendy wellness products and more respect for the basics that actually matter. And one of those basics is what you drink first thing in the morning. That is not a small decision. That is a repeated decision. A decision you make hundreds of times a year, and repeated decisions shape health. And that choice begins with tomorrow morning's very first cup. So if you take nothing else from this today, take this. Stop assuming that anything called natural is safe. Stop assuming that anything called detox is helping. And stop assuming that a morning tea habit is too small to matter. Because small habits become long habits, and long habits shape the stress load your body carries. If you have chronic kidney disease, kidney stones, swelling, high blood pressure, or you take multiple medications, please talk to Dr. Henry Blake before making major changes to your herbal tea routine. That conversation matters because the right tea for one person may be the wrong tea for another depending on medications, lab values, and the condition of the kidneys themselves. And if you are relatively healthy but simply want to make a smarter choice, start simple. Replace the hype with something gentler. Replace the gimmicks with ingredients that make physiological sense. Replace the mystery blend with one tea you actually understand. That is how sustainable health habits are built. One calm, informed decision at a time. And honestly, that may be the most important message in this entire video. Not that one tea is a miracle. Not that one ingredient will rescue every kidney. but that your morning routine is one of the few places where you still have daily control. You may not control your age. You may not control every diagnosis. You may not control every lab result, but you do control what goes into your cup tomorrow morning. That is powerful. And when people finally understand that, they stop looking for health theater and start choosing health habits. They stop chasing the most dramatic promise. They start respecting the most sensible pattern. And that shift alone can change a lot. Now I want to hear from you. Which one surprised you the most? The warning about black tea, the problem with licorice root, the truth about detox teas, or the fact that the best options may be simple teas like ginger, hibiscus, and green tea? Tell me in the comments, and also tell me which tea you would actually try first tomorrow morning. And if you know someone over 60 who keeps buying cleanse products or assumes every herbal tea is automatically harmless, share this with them, because one better morning habit can be the beginning of a much better direction. Take care of yourself.